for joining us. Welcome everyone for joining us today. We are really excited about this topic. Our next installment is micro and remote internships. My name is Maurice Washington, Director of the Michigan Athletics Career Center. On here, my awesome staff, I got Julie Fielding, who is our Assistant Director, and Cody Riffle, who does our employee relations. And also today, we have two awesome individuals, right? Two of our special guests. We have Sam Zeitz on here, a Michigan alum, year 1990, who is definitely a huge supporter of our program, and his company has hired so many of our student athletes. And he's coming from us all the way down in Boca Raton, Florida, where it's warm. Now they, a little rain down there, but that's okay, right?
Yeah, well, actually, we've got five Michigan interns who started on Monday. They're here in the office.
Look at that, right? I hope everybody's listening, right? He's the CEO of Touch Suite. Again, huge component and supporter of what we do here in the MACC. And then we have one of my favorites. We have Hallie Thone here, Michigan alum, class of 19, basketball, all-world, all-star, former Nike Jordan worker, and current account manager for Gardner. So, we these special guests, they come from different perspectives, spectrums of their careers. Sam has been in the industry for a number of years, and of course, Hallie is a new young professional who's doing amazing things. We're definitely excited to hear their perspectives on this topic. And so now with that, a couple of different things. If you have any notes or questions, please use the notes section. Post your notes or questions there. We will definitely answer those questions. I'm asking everyone, if you haven't already, to mute your computers so that we can just have those who are presenting and we cut out the background noise. All right, this is recorded. It's going to be on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and take a look at it. Tell your team, your friends. Right. And again, this is our perspective of what this piece is. And we're so, proud of this, because this is where we really make our bread and butter with our student athletes and those small internships, micro internships, and remote, because we know our student athletes are so busy. They may not have the opportunity to do a traditional internship. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Cody.
Yeah, thank you. So as Maurice had mentioned, I manage our employer relationships, getting a feel of the different opportunities that are out there, but also best practices, changes within different fields, what are employers looking for in candidates, and really, everything I can do to help student athletes get prepared and help employers find the talent that they're looking for. But one of the things that I try to make sure I keep up on is really, what are employers looking at? What are they saying in times when things are normal and when things aren't normal? So right now, obviously, we're all aware that, the hiring trends have changed. Some of the different things that, students can rely on year to year have changed. Recruiting events and things like that, as normal and consistent as we try to make them, understandably, things are different. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what employers are saying right now, and why is it important to you, and some of the opportunities that may be available that students aren't considering. So a couple stats from a recent NACE study, based on, I think it was around 500 employers that they had done a quick poll with. But some of the stats that came from this, which I think are pretty interesting, 83% of the employers that were polled are planning or have at this point altered their internship programs. 46% of the total employers reported moving their internships to virtual experiences, and 41% have reported shortening the length of their internship programs. So when you're looking at different companies, as mentioned before, some of these programs you can rely on year to year, but what's important is that internships are becoming increasingly virtual, and employers are considering new options for hiring. Which is exciting and also a little scary too for those who maybe haven't had opportunities in the past, or this is their first time. But know that, companies are willing and open to change for the most part. But also there's some great opportunities available. And I wanted to ask actually both Sam and Hallie different opinions on this too. Sam, obviously being the CEO of Touch Suite, as well as, the leader of quite a few companies at this point. Would love to hear, really what your thoughts are around altering your programs, or what some of the considerations were, whether or not you made them ultimately for this year and continuing forward. Love to kind of hear that standpoint. And then from Hallie too, from your experiences at Gardner, which is a major company, world leader in a lot of capacities, what are some of the things you've seen?
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm going to give you guys the perspective of what employers are actually thinking. A lot of times you get a lot of political speak that's what's outwardly spoken by CEOs or companies. So any questions you have, I will answer with complete transparency, which is a little different. I will share with you that at TouchSuite and Grubber, which are two of my main companies, we do discriminate. Maurice knows that we discriminate against minorities. We will definitely prioritize the hiring of Wolverines, and we definitely frown on hiring people from Ohio State and Notre Dame. So before we get into it, anybody's concerned, I ran it through legal, and Buckeyes and Irish are not a protected class. So don't worry, discrimination is completely illegal. To bring up the point, what did we do here? We're a little different, and I think some tech companies are maybe the exceptions to the rule, because things are growing for us as a result of everything that's going on with the pandemic. So we were originally scheduled to have 10 interns. We increased that, and we have now 13 interns here in our facility. And we started speaking to other CEOs and friends of mine, and reading them in the paper, and speaking of my daughter is a sophomore in college, and hearing about all her friends losing their internships. We decided to alter our program. So we're continued to the on-site program, but now we're rolling out a virtual or remote internship program as well. And we've never done that before. So that's in addition to our on-site. And we did that because, candidly, with social distancing and everything going on, we didn't think we could add that many more bodies into the office when the employees are already having trepidations of how many people are here and where were they over the weekend or any of that. So we focused on creating that same experience but remote. And a lot of times we have activities that we put on during the year, the team bonding types of activities that are important to get the team here and the interns all connected and feeling part of the same team. So what we've done is we're going to a speaker series where I've reached out to friends of mine across the country who are leading business executives. And each week we're bringing in at least one executive to speak, and to speak candidly, complete off the record, inside the boardroom, as if it was your best friend you could ask these questions to. And they'll tell you candidly over their 20, 30, some of them 50 years of experience, what to do and what to, how to actually go about it, instead of the same rhetoric you might get out of a textbook or reading an article online. And then once a week, we're going to have one of our executives from one of the different departments that will go in and speak as it pertains to that topic area. So, legal might, speak about the different contracts and provisions. Marketing will speak about something else, and so on. And then once a week, I will speak for at least an hour, and really, on any topics that the team wants to hear about, questions and how to build start a career and how to be successful when you're starting at a new opportunity. And my daughter had her first internship last year, and I remember giving her the advice, make sure you're there. She worked at the Fortress in New York, which is a private equity firm. And it was important. I told her, you make sure you're the first one there. You're there before your boss. I go, you stay and you work after your boss leaves, and you make sure that as soon as you finish something, you go off to whoever you're reporting to and ask for more work. And the reason for that is life is graded on a curve, not just in school, but everything. Not everybody's going to get an A. And you might do a great job, but if everybody's doing a little bit more, they're going to stand out. So you want to be the person that really stands out. And I can tell you that she followed that advice. And at the end of the year, she got a phone call. She was applying for this summer at a position at Goldman Sachs. And she got a phone call from somebody at Goldman, or actually there's an email saying, you know what, I was out, our client is Fortress, or our client is Fortress. We were out to dinner with them and they couldn't stop raving about this one intern. And sure enough, it was her. And lo and behold, she ended up getting the job for this summer at Goldman. So you want, perception is typically reality. So the more you can do to stand out, the better it is. So that's hopefully a long-winded answer to your question.
That's great. I mean, it gives an inside look to what people are thinking at the top level. That's you don't get that every day, kind of as you're messing. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can tell you that we sit around here and we're talking. We'll make decisions, and if we need somebody to head up a new project, we'll be like, oh, you know what? Maurice is always here. He's always asking for more work. You know what? Let's give him a shot on this project. Now you have to be able to deliver when the project's there, but because of that perception, people are going to get that extra nod. And I don't know if you guys have read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. It's a great book if you haven't, and it's an easy read. But the basic premise is 10,000 hours and you become an expert in something. But they talk about an anomaly about hockey in professional hockey players, and most of them being born in January, February, or March, and very few professional hockey players being born in October, November, and December. And I'm like, that can't just be by chance. People are randomly born every month of the year. Why are so many of them born at the beginning? And what they found was that most hockey players are born in Canada, and the Pee Wee leagues cut off on December 31st. So when kids are 7 or 8 and playing hockey, the kid that's 6 or 7 months older is slightly better, so that he ends up getting the all-star team. And because he makes the all-star team, he ends up getting extra reps, he gets extra coaching, and that just continues on. So by the time he becomes 16, 17, 18, when the age difference doesn't matter, they've gotten more reps, and there's a higher likelihood that they're going to end up becoming a professional player. So my promise to you is to get in those extra reps. You see, Michael Jordan was great at it. He shoot more free throws, shoot more shots than anybody before practice, after practice. Work is just like that. The real world is just like that.
Hallie, would love to hear some of your experience too about what you see, whether that's with your leadership team or conversations among, among the people you work with as well.
Yeah, no, I think I agree exactly with Sam and how his daughter put in the extra work. And I think that's a lot of the things you can be doing right now, and definitely reaching out to people and leveraging their resources as well. So I had the opportunity to work for Nike the past summer. And that was a big due to Maurice, leveraging him and leveraging the resources at Michigan. It's all about who you know at the end of the day. And I've kind of realized that the more and more I've grown and gone into the business world, it is about those connections. So making sure you're leveraging those connections. And then while I was working with Jordan this summer, I had the opportunity to work in Chicago, but we would go to the headquarters. We went there 4 times. So I had the opportunity to meet with the VP of Jordan and make those connections too. And those are connections I still leverage every day. And since those connections in Chicago with the people I worked with were so strong, I had the opportunity to go back for All-Star Weekend and help them out with All-Star. And we're still talking on a weekly basis. They know I want to go back in a few years, but I want to get some more experience. So I think a big thing is definitely leveraging the people. I've been at the University of Michigan. It's kind of crazy, the people who are your professors. That's how I ended up at Gartner now. So I had a professor one day, and because I did the sales and marketing program through Ross School of Business. And he was a VP for Gartner, and walked in one day and he was like, I don't like athletes. And I was like, okay, we're going to win this man over. So what I did was I would say after class, talk to him for 10 minutes, or come to class early and talk to him 10 minutes. And I knew he would commute from Florida every week. So my grandpa lived in Florida, so I was able to leverage that relationship and identify what was going on there. And there was a hurricane, unfortunately, but I was able to kind of put a spin on it, and it worked out in my favor. So I was able to identify like what was going on. And so I'd talk to him and be like, how's the house? How are the kids? Then we got to talking about the grandchildren. And then every Monday morning we would have breakfast and we'd talk. And at the time I had aspirations to go to the WNBA and become a professional basketball player. And he was very respected of that, but he was like, Hallie, eventually it's like the ball's gonna be put down, and I knew that. And so he was like, whenever you're ready, like reach back out to me and we can talk about how Gartner can be your future. And so, of course, that day came sooner rather than later when I realized I didn't have the passion for basketball anymore. So with those typical Monday discussions, I brought it up, and I was able to have him get me into connection with the person at Michigan that was in charge of recruiting. So I think the big thing I learned is definitely using the resources you have. There's so many at Michigan, whether that's leveraging Maurice or anyone, or even your coaches too. If you want to go into coaching, like there's something for everything. And your professors, a lot of them have done a lot of great stuff. So whether that's looking them up on LinkedIn, that's definitely something you can be doing now. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I highly recommend spending some time building that right now. You have the time to do it. And of course, you can be sending those messages to make your connections go up. That's a big thing to be doing, just to get your name out there. I mean, it's something you can be working on, as well as building out your resume, just to have that on there so people are able to see. But big thing is definitely just leveraging those resources, and maybe just reflecting on some of the past professors you had good classes with, you built that relationship with, and like some of the things they talked about, reaching back out to them, seeing if they have any connections for some things you want to go into. But a lot with like what Sam said, I think it is about proving yourself and that you're willing to go the extra mile. And I think being a student athlete, that already separates you a lot, because you're used to having a lot on your plate. So that's definitely something I realized when I worked for Nike. I had some people who weren't athletes and they were fine with just sitting there. And I was like, no, like, let's go to the office, figure out what else I can be doing and having my hands touch on. And I was able to do more than just stuff with Jordan. I was able to do outfits for WNBA players and do stuff with basketball. And then, of course, the All-Stars. So it's just like when you have an opportunity, making sure that you're taking full advantage of it and really just putting yourself out there. I mean, worst comes to worst. I mean, my mom has always said the worst thing you get is a no. And at the end of the day, that's not a big deal. We've all been told no before. So just willing to put your neck out there and take those extra steps, and they'll go really far.
Yeah, and Hallie, that you know, I'll tell you from the employer perspective, LinkedIn is very, very important. I will tell you that I get people emailing me, calling me every day. I take less than 5% of those calls or respond to less than 5% of those for emails. But I will tell you that if they reference in a LinkedIn request or in an email that they went to Michigan or they're an alum, I will take 100% of those calls. And I'm not the minority there. So that's play up that. Michigan has, at least when I graduated, the largest living alumni. I don't know if that's still the case. Hopefully we continue to live longer than everybody else. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, so the crazy thing is when I just recently moved to Dallas during this whole pandemic, I had the opportunity to get a new position at Gartner. So moved to Dallas to work with a different side of the business. And as soon as I got here, the Dallas Stars, which is the NHL team, their president found me on LinkedIn, messaged me. So now it's like, okay, I'm like, okay, let's get sports back up so I could use this resource. But no, I agree. And I think that's something definitely being in the sales aspect of it. When I was going through training, we were going through LinkedIn's, figuring out how to get these emails to stick to people who are reaching out and make it seem like it's worth their time. And a lot of it, you can find so much information on LinkedIn about what's going on with their company, where they're from, their previous jobs. And if you just have one thing that can stick with that person, whether that's you went to the same college or you know someone who worked at that company, or just something that can make you stand out and make it worth their time, you'll usually get a response.
Unlike Hallie's friend, we do love student athletes here. Maurice knows that. That's how we got connected a long time.
Okay, Gartner loves student athletes, but he did not like teaching student athletes. And I was like, I'm getting an A in this class, so let's find out how to be buddies.
Absolutely, and Hallie's right. I mean, what's the worst that can happen is when you ask for something and somebody says no. I mean, I think it was Wayne Gretzky who said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So a lot of it is just trying. You're not going to make them all, but if you're not taking them, you're definitely not going to you're not going to hit.
Those are great points. I think one of the challenges of some of our student athletes, in my experience, is they feel like that they can't compete in the workforce because they haven't had the time to get those experiences. That's contrary, to what's true, because as Hallie said, what you bring to the table is so amazing, and that's exactly what employers want. All of the attributes the things that you've been doing all of your life. Now is the time to do it. Hallie said it. Now is the time to do it. Right, as these states.
I know from a coaching, from our perspective, we look at student athletes as coachable, right? If you tell somebody, you're doing something wrong or this is the way to do it, a lot of people are like, oh, what do you mean? They take offense to it. And athletes like, no, that's, I seek out coaching. I want to get better. And with that slight attitude in the workforce is huge. Also the ability, as Hallie mentioned, managing the time management skills that you pick up because of the schedule that you have, again, is huge. And obviously, the competitive spirit to win, especially at organizations like ours, is integral.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that just comes from, I worked with Maurice on finding and making a resume. I think when I was a sophomore and I was like, Maurice, I have I've babysat, I've coached when I was in high school, I've done stuff with AAU tournaments, doing social media, and I was just like, I don't feel like I can do this. And he was like, no, Hallie, you need to realize, you can work things. You've had experience having 40-hour weeks already by being a student athlete. There's ways that are already correlating to how it's going to be when you enter the real world and the business world that are happening day to day. But you just have to step back and look at it in a different perspective and being able to leverage someone like Maurice, Cody, or Julie just to be able to help you get in that mind frame. You end up finding out you have so much to bring to the table and so much to put on your resume that really does stand out.
I mean, that's thoughtful feedback from both Sam and Hallie. And a lot of what they're saying is whenever I hear things like that, I look for patterns. And one of the ones that really stuck out for me was, the student athlete experience brings something unique. And I know at this point, the population we serve is not a stranger to that because we make sure they understand it. So it really becomes more about understanding and creating and finding opportunities. So with that, that's where we are really trying to pay attention to alternatives to traditional internships at this current time. Because we know when you get into the opportunity, you're going to be able to build this network, go above and beyond against the measured standard. So as much as we can to get student athletes career experience, that's our method. And two of the ones that we're going to talk about today and go a little bit into are micro internships and remote internships. And just a little bit about them. Micro internships, if you're not familiar, you may see my emails from me weekly that come from some of our partner companies that offer such things as well. So you probably might be familiar with the term, but really what they are short-term paid professional assignments. They can consist of 5 to 40 hours of work and can occur at any time of the year. So they're really project-based opportunities, and we're going to go a little bit more into that here shortly. But you're probably also familiar with remote internships, which are not synonymous necessarily with micro internships because there are some similarities and some differences. But on average, a remote or virtual internship is a work experience where the participant gains experience while working in a remote professional setting and not physically present at the job location. So these types of internships may follow very traditional guidelines and be set up similarly to how you would be if you spent 10 to 12 weeks in a traditional setting. Julie, can you go to the next one? We have a little bit more meat about those. So one of the things that we really want to enunciate about micro internships and why they're important and relatable to student athletes is really in a few capacities. But one of the biggest one is the flexible schedule. So, being a former student athlete, I'm sure anyone here that understands or works with that population can understand. Time is not something student athletes have a lot of necessarily, but still finding and having opportunities throughout the year is really important. So micro internships can allow that. They also give you access to a lot of different job fields. So maybe you're interested in getting into sales or business development. you want to do more project management or product development, different things like that. Those are all things you can do, given that you're able to pass the application and actually get hired for the project, but give you exposure to that line of work, and also the types of people who might be doing it that you can talk to and leverage later on. It gives you a look into different industries as mentioned, but it can lead you to a full-time job offer. So that's something too we've seen from some of these opportunities that students have taken. You may do a couple of them for a certain company, and they'll call you back and say, hey, we loved how you did, the type of work you did before. We'd love to bring you out for a full-time role.
That's actually exactly, from an employer perspective, that's exactly why people run the internship programs. It's almost like a try before you buy type mentality. You've got somebody long enough that you see their work product, you see how they work with the team, you see their passion or lack thereof. And then, at the end of the summer, because anybody can walk into an interview and kill it, right? For an hour, anybody can turn it on, and if you're a good actor or actress, you can really you can wow somebody and get that job. But if you have somebody for a summer and they're turning in work product and you're working with them and collaborating with them, and you can see how they operate, it's harder to hide. And you can find the people with that passion, like Hallie describes what she did last year and then the year before. And those are the kids that are going to be sought after. And from an employer perspective, we got the inside scoop, right? We know that if we had a Hallie last year, she's a superstar, and we want to lock her up before she goes to another company like Gardner. So we want to get that talent down here. So that's how an employer is looking at it, right? We're not going to go and brag to everybody, how this person's out there. We want to get them for ourselves.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's exactly. I think that's what we're trying to convey. Is there's so many things that student athletes, the skill set that they have, and the different, like you had mentioned, the intangibles and the time management, coming in early, working late, getting the project done with high quality. Those are all things that come naturally. So getting them in these types of opportunities is really the most important thing on our books. So as you mentioned, employers can get a test run. Hey, you know what? That was pretty amazing. Why don't we go ahead and give them another project? And and through conversation, you're going to find that all kinds of opportunities will come to your door. The picture here on the right is actually a screenshot we grabbed, which I'll show you here in a second. But we have a hub that works with one of our partner companies in Parker Dewey, and they're the leader in sourcing micro internships from different companies. But this is an example and kind of what it looks like when students will actually log into the portal and check out some of the different ones there. So you'll see a start date and a due date with the estimated hours. So when a student's applying to these opportunities, they'll see, I need to get going on this by, the end of this week, and it's due in a few weeks. So they can kind of frame and figure out the time frame that they have in order to complete the project. And also, the type of work, in this instance, they're all going to be remote. So it is synonymous in that point, but they're not all that way. It's a good way for you if you're back home. Maybe you live in Chicago or you live in, New York. You can search this throughout the year when things are normalized and be able to do a short-term project with them, get to meet some of the people and actually get to immerse yourself in their culture. They usually provide a different type of stipend. I've seen as low as 100. I've also seen as high as 3,500. So you never know what you're getting into, but it's something that you can kind of go with, what's available and figure out what's best for you. So the great thing about it is it gets you a look at, a little bit about what the opportunity is, what the company's like. Obviously, this one's Microsoft, but there's a lot of startup companies and some of these ones where you're going to be in on the ground level. You're going to get to see and be in on some of these conversations that, could potentially change the future of the company forever. So it can be pretty unique. And that's something, too, to get excited about is there is opportunity out there. It's just you need a place to find them, and that's really what this is for. Hallie, I was going to ask you as well, do you think something like this would have been able to be accomplished at Nike? Like, do you think with your experience at Nike as an intern, some of the tasks and projects you did would have been, if done over a few week period, would be something that would have been attainable at Nike?
I know for some of the people that I worked with, they could have done it. I had the opportunity because I was with Jordan. There's such a small team. and they were launching stuff for women. I ended up taking a whole project and running it myself. So like I needed to be there and bring it to life and then find a space, make it happen and everything. But for a lot of people, like what they were doing, like the day-to-day tasks of whether that was like finding ideas or just creating these PowerPoints and slides, a lot of this, easily could have been done with just talking on the phone with someone and understanding what they're looking for, what the demographic of the people expect and stuff like that to be able to really bring it to life. But yeah, for me, it wouldn't have worked out, but it, easily could have worked for some other people.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Julie, actually, can you show, the dashboard of our site here, which can be accessed through that link. This is where you can find some of those opportunities that are already pre-registered, but as Julie will talk about here in a little bit, you can actually, you can work with employers on creating these opportunities for yourself. We've had some pretty interesting situations occur in the past where, one of our biggest partners, Quicken Loans, has actually created a student-athlete internship. So it's a 3 to 4 week period where you're able to actually do rotations across different departments at the company. And this year, they've even amended that to make it a virtual externship. So being creative, I think you're going to see a lot of companies that are open to it. And this model is something that's growing more and more. I don't think it'll ever replace traditional internships as a whole, but it'll definitely be something that's going to be more of an impact for the recruiting processes. But this is what our dashboard looks like. Obviously, multiple ways to get involved with that. But like I said before, we have weekly emails coming out from us from different ones. And also, as companies release different opportunities to me or Maurice or Julie, we make sure we get them to you as well. But wanted to get people familiar with this and look out for that because we will be having an email coming out tomorrow. But wanted to have Julie talk a little bit more about virtual internships as well, because they are similar, but there are some differences as well.
Yeah, so like Cody touched on the micro internship, we've seen heightened virtual opportunities this summer due to the global pandemic. Some of you as student athletes are taking spring or summer courses, and so it's nice to know that there is some flexibility in your schedule. So you're able to work around your class schedule and complete those virtual internships as well. So maybe you have class Tuesday, Thursdays from 10 to 2. You're able to just, add on a little bit later into the evening to complete your internship or your project-based work. Obviously, location, it makes it easier. If you're doing work for Sam and he's in Florida and you're in New Jersey, you're able to still maintain and stay in your location. So that helps out. And two, these are opportunities that can translate into the academic year, right? If you're in Ann Arbor and there's a virtual opportunity and the company is based in Dallas, you're able to still produce and contribute to that work environment from a different location. Typically the work is like Cody just mentioned through Parker Dewey, is more project-based or project-oriented, which gives you more responsibility and you're completing larger projects that might have more of an impact on an organization. You've all heard, stories about interns having, doing coffee runs or doing more admin, assistant, or administrative work. With a virtual internship opportunity, you're going to see heightened project-based or group dynamic type of work that could be more have more of an impact in contribution to the overall mission or meeting the objectives of that company. But there's also an increased accountability. You're not, you don't have that manager coming to you every day or checking in on your office. But obviously, as student athletes, this is something you're used to, and it's very innate in you, is the accountability that you have for your sport and your academics, which would easily translate to the production you'd have during your internship opportunity. You have the diverse communication method. So now everybody is meeting virtually through Zoom or Google Meets, or we're utilizing different platforms and things like that. So you're able to diversify your communication methods, which in turn can help you as you assimilate to a new opportunity, another internship moving forward. And then obviously as well, introduction to new technology. So utilizing these platforms differently. Sam just mentioned virtual seminars weekly, and so engaging with employers and speakers and professionals that way. So you're able to leverage and utilize new platforms, utilizing maybe Slack or Trello, some project-based or project management based platforms too that a company might use more of because the opportunity is more virtual. You're just adding those new tech platforms to your skill set. Where do you find micro and remote internships? So Cody talked about Parker Dewey, a lot of those project-based opportunities that can span from a few days, 2 weeks, or longer term. So making sure you are creating a profile. It's nice as well. It can connect to your LinkedIn profile. And as Hallie said, you should be utilizing this time to make a LinkedIn if you haven't already or if you don't have. And as Sam alluded to, he responds to 100% of those LinkedIn messages that highlight the Michigan connection. So again, making sure you're leveraging platforms like LinkedIn and the Wolverine Network as well. Utilizing us as a resource. We're here in a different capacity, in a different way to support you, but we are connecting with different employers and recruiters, Cody specifically, to ensure we're communicating opportunities for work for our student athletes. And then too, we're blessed at the University of Michigan to have a lot of other resources. So utilizing your specific college career center as well to just make sure you're maximizing the opportunities that are available to you during this time. And then build your own opportunity. So making sure you're pitching that to an employer. And Hallie and Sam actually also use two of my favorite lines: the try it before you buy it, and if you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you're a student athlete that have worked with me in the past, you've probably 10 out of 10 heard those two terms come out of my mouth. But I want to turn that over to Hallie and Sam to get their opinion on the pitch to an employer. So if a student or a student athlete came to you asking, if there's an opportunity to do some project-based work or, shadow or sit in on a meeting, if they came to you with that, and what should they look for in their approach, or what would you be more receptive to if they reached out?
Yeah, so first, Julie, thank you. You did leave off one, in the last slide, you left off one important place to go look. And that's obviously at TouchSuite and Grubber. So, if you guys want to be, to get involved at, cutting edge fintech that's actually changing the world in this post-corona world, we're the leader in self-ordering kiosks and self-payment technology, so contactless ordering. All of our interns are running on some really cool stuff right now that's really cutting edge, you're gonna see change the world over the next year. So that slide needs to be updated. As for the pitch, I can tell you that inadvertently we've been running these micro sessions during the school year. We have an unlimited amount of need for writing and blogs and social media, and we'll always take on as much as students have time. So we had a couple students this year who were able to write articles and blogs, and we're very flexible. So we would give them projects that weren't time sensitive, and we just you need content for SEO. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term SEO. It's search engine optimization. It basically ensures that your company shows up higher in the search engines. And big thing that drives that is content. So we always want to put out as much content into the internet. So when people look for something, they hopefully will find us. And we get a lot of that customized writing and research done by students. We also do a lot of product research, and so reaching out, competitive analysis. So there's a whole bunch of things that can be done remotely, and then we have the need during the school year. I just had lunch today with somebody, and they were looking all the interns that we have here, and how many we're bringing on for this remote program. And he's like, "What do you guys do after the summer? Who does all this work?" And that, one, we're also hiring. So anybody that's recently graduated, give us a call as well, because we do need to hire. But we much like what Julie was alluding to, and Cody before that, there's an opportunity to come forward and handle those types of projects. I think you mentioned shadowing. I've had a couple people reach out to me, "Hey, I'm going to be down there. Would you mind if I come and just see what it does? Can I follow you around for a day? Can I follow you around for a few hours? It goes right to what Julie said. If you don't ask, you don't get. And you'd be surprised when you're the person who's sticking their neck out, you're going to make an impression on somebody. And a lot of it's exactly what Haley was talking about earlier. It's that network, it's that access. And you start to get that relationship, and guess what? People like me know a lot of people, and then all of a sudden you get introduced to other people, and then Maurice, Maurice. Maurice, I don't know how many times Maurice has called me over the last couple of years and said, "Hey, Sam, I've got this great student athlete. I think you should talk to him." Or a lot of times they're not even looking for a job. "Hey, can you just talk to this student and give him some pointers?" And how many times have I turned you down on that?
Never. Always on time. Always on time, and we're definitely appreciative of that.
So again, it's reinforcing what Julie said. You don't ask, you don't get. And you'd be surprised, especially when you've got a University of Michigan degree, how many doors that opens and how many people will take your phone call.
Yeah, and I agree with Sam. I think definitely being a student athlete at Michigan, you already have a lot of people working for your team. So that's something that I was able to do while being at the university, was shadowing. Just even if it was just for a day, like during season, you don't have time to actually do full internship or something like that, but you can shadow someone's role and what they do, and like see if you like that. And then from there, of course, you're generating relationships and being able to build your network that way. But a lot of the things with Nike and Gartner, I feel like there's so many ways you can still be contributing virtually. Whether that's with Gartner, it could be like I'm not sure what they're doing with internships, but if it were to be some virtual, it'd be a lot of reaching out to people, trying to set meetings, and that's something that's very obtainable to do virtually, and just talk to whether it's an account manager and identify what they're looking for. And everyone has prospects, so you can always be reaching out for them. But I think a lot of it comes from, if you're going to reach out and open an opportunity, make sure you highlight what you'll be able to bring to the table, whether that's saving them time, but just be able to put that out there and show what you'll be able to bring. Because I think that's a big thing when it comes to when I was first new at Gartner and I wanted to get meetings with people higher up, or like see how they do their day-to-day. It was a lot of me being like, if you have meetings, that means I can take the notes for you. Just like showing like what the little things that they have to do every day that's kind of can be tedious, like just being able to take something off of their back, I think can be a big thing just for them to say yes. Cause it's like, why not? I mean, that's one less thing I have to do. Just be able to show what you can bring and how it can help them in the long run, I think.
Yeah, and I would say also, make sure you do your homework. If you're going to call somebody and you're going to do an ask, make sure you look them up. You can find everything on Google. Look up their company, find out what they're doing. This way, if you get into a discussion, you look intelligent. You've done your homework, you know it, and that's really going to wow somebody. The other thing is this is a trick I used to use a long time ago when I was interviewing, but anytime I would look around the office when I walked in there, and everybody in the office would have something, some personal effect. Obviously, right, you can look, you can see my Michigan helmet over there. I got some balls. I would walk in, if all of a sudden the guy had a cheese head, I'd start talking to him about Packer football. If he had a fishing line, I'd talk to him about fishing. Everybody has something in their office, or even, you can even look over people's shoulders, and you could probably right now pick up on something that's personal that is important to them. Make that connection. It's very important. Hallie talked about it at the beginning of this call, how she made that personal connection and asked the person about their grandkids and how things were going and following up. Now you've got that personal connection, and now you become closer to a friend with that person, and people will go out of their way to help a friend. So that's another tidbit I've been very successful with over the years.
One thing that I'm so proud of, and I'm going to mention Hallie, is working with her has been a joy of mine. Honestly, phenomenal basketball player. I mean, everybody in the conference in the country knew about Hallie, but when you had a conversation with her, she didn't talk about basketball, right? She talked about what she brought to the table, right? When she walked in the office and wanted a resume, it wasn't about basketball. you know, Maurice, I know you know why I'm here, but I want to do something different. Yes, WNBA is in. We had that conversation, either Jordan or WNBA, and I said, you know, nothing's a given, right? You just do both, right? You try both, but she's always thought about, you know, life after sports. And it doesn't mean that her WNBA dreams were like gone. It means that, okay, I make it in the league, and then what? Right? And then when I put the ball down, I'm doing the work now. And so that's what's so impressive, you know, why my job, my team's job is so amazing, because we get to work with you know, our student athletes that are on this call here now, and, you know, our alum like Hallie, because you really, really, really are really special, right? And we know it. And our job is to really help Sam to know it. Again, Sam gets it, right? But it's our job to help, you know, to prep you so Sam and other corporations like Gardner, they know just how special you are, you know, outside of what you bring, but that you're able to articulate these things and have something to say. You know how to do your research. So I just want to say that. So I mean, I'm just so excited for you.
And I know that's like a big thing, and it's hard when you're in college and all your life is sports. It's hard to be like, okay, yeah, after these 4 years or after 6 years, it's done. But it's like something you kind of have a reality check and realize that this is not going to be your whole life. And so that's something that I would have conversations with some people on different teams, and I'd be like, okay, what are you going to do after like football? And if like me asking that question, they're like, you don't believe in me? I'm like, no, I believe in you, but like we need some realistic goals. And at the end of the day, that's just having a plan. And that's what I went into the Nike internship. And I already had Gartner solidified. So I was like, okay, the internship, I could get an offer. The other day, they're like, okay, we want you to come back. But I was like, okay, I already have Gartner. But now I have a plan to go back to Nike later down the road, because I know that's a company I love and I want to work for ultimately. But it's just being able to have a plan and a backup plan. It's not a bad thing. I feel like a lot of time it gets looked at as a backup plan. It's like, oh, you don't think you're going to succeed in the first one. No, you're like, you're going to succeed, but you're just going to have that safety net to catch you at the end of the day.
So for our student athletes, obviously summer is a big time in which they have more time to complete an internship. With the pandemic and the altering of internship programs, shifting of opportunities, company struggles, and things like that. Sam and Hallie, what is your advice for student athletes right now who are still seeking a summer experience, an internship, looking to familiarize or gain experience in an area that they're passionate about? What final pieces of advice would you have for them as they continue to navigate that search and gain experience?
Yeah, I first off, don't settle. Find the area that you want to be in, and that's where you go. And especially even when you go into your first job, don't make it about the money. Make it about the experience and what you're going to learn. If you don't have a passion, don't go into it. You're making a mistake. Life is too short, and you will never be great at whatever that is you're doing if you're not passionate about it. If you want to be great, you need to be passionate about it. Don't go chase, this company paid me $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 more, but it's in a different field that I'm not really passionate about. Don't take that job. As silly as it sounds, I'd rather work someplace for free in an area that I'm passionate about, because you're going to get the experience that you're going to need later in life. You're going to get the contacts that you need to go on in that career. And if you go, my wife made that mistake. I met her in law school, and she was, I had a job lined up. Boom, I was off and working, and she started to get frustrated. So she ended up taking, the first real job that made her an offer. And it wasn't in an area she loved. And all of a sudden, now that's what's on your resume. And it's hard to now change that narrative when you're having that conversation. So even in an internship, you're going to walk in your first job, and they're going to look at your resume. And what are they going to have on it? It's where you work. And if there was an area that's not in an area or that you're looking to go into, it doesn't resonate with that employer. And if that employer has somebody who has experience in a similar field or a related company and a skill set that's adaptable to what they're doing, they're going to take that over the person that doesn't have it. So make sure you go into an area that you have a passion for. and make sure that's what you're doing over the summer, even if you have to take a job for free, because now you get that value on your resume.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And when you have that passion, you're willing to do the extra mile, and it doesn't even seem like it's an extra mile. So you're going to separate yourself a lot easier, and you're going to have fun doing it. So that's definitely big. And I just want to reiterate, just reaching out to those resources. You've all gone through at least a year of schooling. So you have professors that you know. A lot of these professors have done amazing things. So reaching back out to them, seeing if they have anything that they're working on that you can help with them, or if they know any colleagues that you can be reaching out to, and building that LinkedIn and just starting those connections. And it'll be crazy how fast you're able to start building up your network and how much of a benefit it will have later on for you.
That's a great point, because I know from our side, we're looking at it from the opposite side, right? You guys are out looking for jobs. We're out there looking for talent. And a lot of times I'll reach out to professors and I'll say, hey, who's your top student, or who are the top 5 students in your class? And I'll try to circumvent the whole recruiting process by going to the professors and saying, hey, give me the inside scoop. So just like you're looking for tricks and games to try to get a job, we're doing the same thing on the employment side to try to find the hidden talent. It's no different than you're going to do if you're a coach trying to recruit the best athletes.
Wow, what a great session we had today. I mean, it couldn't have been better. We walked into it knowing Cody did a fabulous job putting this together for us. And I knew it would be special because I know it's important. But then we bring in these 2 all-stars, right? They really gave us some great advice. So thank you, Sam, and thank you, Haley, for that advice. And I think that, I wish all 900 student athletes were on this call, right? We're on this presentation, because they needed to hear this. They needed to really understand how important it is, how important they are, what they bring, and when to start. And for more, information, definitely reach out to our staff. I think I have an all-star team, right? So reach out to all of us. Our emails are there. And the last thing I would say is, in essence of time, start early. Our experience shows that students like to start their junior, senior year thinking about, I'll wait. No. For the youngest student class that's on this call right now, and those that will listen to this, start early. You need to do something every single year that you're in college. As Sam was alluding to, you want to build that resume. You want to be able to do something that you're proud of. Even if you're trying to figure it out, what are you passionate about? It doesn't have to be a career, but you want to grow, right? The difference between a traditional internship and a micro internship is this. Most students can only do 3 or 4 traditional internships, and most of those are done in the summer, right? Not during the academic year. You, however, and you've been told that you can't because you don't have time, but we're flipping that idea on its head. And I'll tell you why, because micro internships, as Cody alluded to, these are small. These are virtual, right? You can do these in season. So you can very well have an experience each term, right? The fall, the winter, and the summer. So that's 3 opportunities per calendar year that you could be doing something versus a traditional student that's going to have a traditional internship, maybe 3 in their entire college career. So you are already bringing more to the table, more experiences, more to talk about in the interview. You can walk in a Touch Suite, you can walk into Gardner, because we want Gardner and Touch Suite to hire all of our student athletes, right? You can walk in there and you can sit in Sam's office. You can talk about that helmet, the miniature helmet behind him, and the wonderful pictures and everything that he's done, and talk about the experiences that you bring and things that you have. You can meet with Hallie and say, she understands your plight. I've been a student at the University of Michigan on a great team with great coaches, and winning and losing and what that was like and all those experiences. And you can sit down with Hallie, or Hallie can be your connect at Gardner, or your connect going someplace else to use. So this is so important. We're excited to have you all here. Again, thank you for joining. Another thanks to Sam, and thanks for Hallie for spending their time. I know you're busy during these difficult times, but for you all to sit down with us and provide this information was definitely valuable.
Of course, glad I could help. And of course, anyone, you can reach out to me. I know Danielle's on here. Anyone needs my number, just reach out to her. Or of course, you can find me on LinkedIn too.
Well, if you reach out, I will respond.
And we also have the Wolverine Network. We'll make sure that we send it out to everyone. The Wolverine Network is our version of At the Athletic LinkedIn. And what we know is since March, more than 20 student athletes have found opportunities based off the networks, the people they found on Wolverine Network, right? So we'll make sure everyone gets that link, right? Again, thanks for joining us. And if you got to go, go blue.